What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about The Friend. Which one? The Friend. That one. It's not the one that you think we're going to talk about, but the other friend of yours. We need to talk about that friend. It's actually a movie called The Friend, based on a book. It stars Naomi Watts. Click like and subscribe because I don't know. Because I'm asking you to. Because one day I it, I may leave you a giant Great Dane for not subscribing to me, and then you're gonna have to deal with a giant Great Dane in your life. Um. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that based on the sort of clandestine marketing campaign for this movie, I don't intend on like spoiling the movie had this movie just had like a normal marketing campaign, but because this movie seems to be trying to dodge what it's about, I'm going to just tell you. I'm going to tell you what the movie is actually about. And to be honest, I've also seen Bill Murray doing press for the movie where he's been really honest about where his character is the whole movie. So, um, let's go. You've been slightly warned. If you want to live in La La Land, I mean, cool. But the marketing kit, like if you click on the IMDb page and look at the little summary that they've submitted there, it doesn't really tell you anything about the movie. Um, I don't know why they're hiding it, especially if it's based on a book. But so the friend stars Naomi Watts, who she works in the education world in helping fostering the young writers of tomorrow. She herself is also uh, a writer and editor, and she's looking forward to, uh, you know, continuing on with her life when all of a sudden her friend, Bill Murray, kills himself. Bill Murray as, I don't know, whatever his character name is. I've already forgotten. So he's dead pretty much from the very beginning of the movie. You find out at the beginning that he is gone. So anytime Bill Murray appears, it's in flashback, or as some like materialized ghost version or something, I guess. I didn't get audio description with this. I should point that out. Also, as a blind film critic, I should point out that I'm wearing a purple hat, black sunglasses, and a Punisher shirt for this, for my blind audience. But um, so he's actually not in the movie that much. There was somebody who gave a quote. I noticed there was a commercial that was running with a pull quote on Bill Murray, and I'm like, man, you came up with something for that. His. I don't understand how he's doing press for the movie. Like, it's amazing. He's barely in this movie, unless he's in every single scene with no dialogue that I didn't have audio description for, and it's just like Bill Murray just walking around not talking. Totally possible. Be very weird, but it's totally possible. Um, yeah, so one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up is because I know that sometimes things that are centered around suicide can trigger people, and I think I'm not going to hide that. I don't think it shows anything. It does kind of talk a little bit about it at some point in the movie, but for the most part, they just mention that he chose to, and then there's some talk about suicide. There's humorous talk about suicide that he had a quote that was, uh, the more people, uh, the more suicidal people there are, the less suicidal people there are. I actually thought that was a great quote because it's, I doubt it's some fictitious character came up with that for the first time ever, but um, it makes you think about what that actually means. And it's and they're like, oh, you Naomi Watts goes into that quote with, "You made us laugh," with lines like, and I was like, I don't know that that's a zinger, but it is definitely a thinker. Uh, so he had ex-wives and a current wife. He had a girlfriend. He was a little bit of a cad, that way. So all these women wonder why, of all the people, he left his giant Great Dane, Apollo, to Naomi Watts, who lives in this tiny rent-controlled apartment. So she is super hesitant to suddenly take a Great Dane in her life, as most sane people would. I love dogs, and if somebody tried to give me a Great Dane, I'd be like, no, sir. No, thank you. it's it's way too big. um so she she's stuck now with this Great Dane, and it immediately becomes a problem with her apartment and the apartment manager. And she's like, I know, I'm trying to find a new home for him. She feels like because, Bill Murray was her friend, that she has to find like an actual home. She can't just take this dog to a shelter. So she has to find, like, she has to truly rehome it. But also, this dog is going through depression, which is like a huge plot point for this movie, is the fact that the dog itself experiences and goes through the same sort of like 5 stages of grief that Naomi Watts is going through. So I've heard the dog gives an amazing performance. I didn't have audio description. I also don't know how much the audio description is going to focus in on the dog. I'll probably end up watching this movie again just because I was interested enough in it. It's not a happy movie. I didn't walk out of this feeling better about my life or myself or anything like that. But I am intrigued. There was enough that I felt like I was missing that I wouldn't recommend this to a blind person without audio description. But at the same time, there's enough there that I would actually watch it a second time to see it with audio description. I'm just kind of frustrated that screeners like rarely ever have audio description on them. So, I that's basically what the movie is Naomi, like, navigating her own grief while also seeing this dog's grief, and the dog sort of learning to bond with Naomi, for the, you know even though his person is Bill. And there are things that slowly come out. I'm not here to spoil like the whole thing for you, but you do kind of need to know that Bill Murray is barely in this movie, and he's dead from the beginning of the movie. This is one of those things like Desperate Housewives, Million Little Things, 6 Feet Under, where like the whole thing kind of is the catalyst for the movie is a death. So the movie would not exist without the death. He doesn't like die halfway through the movie, you know. Um, and so yeah, Naomi's the star, and supporting cast, Carla Gugino, Constance Wu, Ann Dowd, Owen Teague, a whole bunch of people in there that kind of pop in and out through the story and provide different conversations and characters for her to interact with. And um, she has a daughter that comes and stays with her for a little bit, but she has a very interesting relationship where she's maintained friendship with the exes, with like the ex-wives, and also like the current wife, and not really so much with the girlfriend, although the girlfriend isn't doesn't hate her, you know. So it's just this weird weird dynamic where, as the best friend who is not an ex, officially, um, is she everybody looks to her and goes, "Why did you get the dog?" And it's like, "Do you want the dog?" Everybody looks at her like it's weird for her to have the dog, but at the same time, nobody else wants the dog. Why? Because it's a giant Great Dane. It's this huge. And I love one of the early scenes, because the dog just kind of goes wherever he wants. And when she gets home, she has a very small, like, studio, rent controlled, basic studio ish apartment. And her neighbor comes over, and the Great Dane has just like jumped on the bed. And her initial reaction to it is, "There's a pony on your bed." And that just kind of like encapsulates the idea of giving somebody a Great Dane. It's like, I think this movie would be a whole lot less interesting if he had given her like a Pomeranian. I mean, the story is literally crafted. They went for the biggest dog breed for a reason, because it's cartoonishly absurd that somebody who lives in that small of an apartment would have a Great Dane, with no space, and obviously it has to be walked. There, one of the potential adoptees of the Great Dane is like, "Oh, it has to go outside. I was thinking about just putting down pee pads." And I was like, "It's a fucking Great Dane. Do you not understand how much that dog is going to be?" Oh my God. Anyway, um, so yeah, I mean, it kind of becomes a treatise on keeping giant dogs in apartments, you know, and not being ready for the city life, and not really having. It's like, if you don't have the time to walk it or do stuff, then some dogs are not meant to be cooped up in tiny apartments. They get frustrated, and when they're left alone. So, the friend. Um, oh, another thing that I noticed, and this is just like a small thing. It's like a weird nerd thing, uh, but I did want to talk about it. Um, I love when movies use like, uh, I love when you can tell when people, they want to use opera pieces, but they're afraid of using anything that would make anybody look like that they had actual opera knowledge, like actual classical music knowledge, and go off the beaten path with less familiar pieces. You know, um, it's always these certain pieces that end up popping up. So in this one, we get the Papageno Papagena duet from the Magic Flute that pops up quite early in the film, and I was like, you hear the pa pa pa, and I was like, oh, what the hell? So that plays, and then later on we have La Chiderem La Mano, and I mean, yeah. Also, but we could have operatic pieces, uh, sort of off the beaten path. There need to be music consultants who know more than like the 10 most popular, you know. I'm surprised we didn't get like Nessun Dorma or Ome Babino, you know. So, uh, yeah, it's just, I was thinking about that. Like, with music, you get sometimes with, uh, in pop and indie and rock, you get these like super, like, independent artists that like nobody's ever heard that song before, because somebody really took the time to cultivate and find an artist in that one song that speaks volumes, that suddenly, like, they want that moment with that song that you've never heard before. But with opera, it seems like it's always the pieces that everyone's heard before, because I guess they're afraid. But then, like, what's the point? You know, you're basically there to just show opera. Like, you want people to understand that opera was a part of the culture of these people's lives. That's why you're playing it. Uh, and to those who know a lot of opera, they're going to roll their eyes at the continued use of the same handful of pieces. So you're not winning over the people who are opera fans by continuing to play versions of the most overdone and oversung arias. So I just don't understand what the point is. Why don't we take the same kind of concern with opera as a form? And the funny thing is, all of this is public domain. Well, I mean, they do still make, I shouldn't say all, they make new operas. So yes, there are some new operas that are not public domain, but they have so much stuff to choose from that's public domain. So um, they really could pick anything. And and they still just choose the same pieces. They choose comfort food. It would be like if in every single film, uh, we just got, I don't know, My Heart Will Go On and Circle of Life. You know, and you're like, why are these here? In every movie. It would be so weird after a while because you're thinking about like contextually, like, what does this song do for us? What does this song mean? And you're like, well, it doesn't mean anything. These are just really popular songs that people like listening to. It's like, well, that's what we do with opera. You don't actually think about the context of anything or what the songs have to say. Um, you're just using them for purposes of uh, well, someone in the audience who's not really into opera might hear the song and like there's somebody out there who's not a fan of opera, but they really love that Papageno duet. You know, so they're really into the magic flute, but nothing else. So I don't know. I know that's like a. I knew when I was gonna bring it up, it was gonna be like a down the rabbit hole type of thing, and I'm sure I've lost people, but it did make me think, and it's something I think about a lot whenever I hear like the same couple of arias in movies. Can we please venture out? I really loved Jesse Eisenberg's score for Real Pain because I was like, oh my god, he's using classical music that I'm not instantly familiar with. It's not Claire de Lune, you know. Um, yeah. So The Friend. I can't talk about the audio description because I didn't see it. It does have audio description. So if you're here and you're wondering, uh, I can't, the thing is, I just can't talk about the track. So I can't rate it because I didn't get it. But it's already available for pre order in the Apple Store. And just simply clicking on the title tells me that when it hits Apple, it's going to hit it with audio description. So the logical assumption that I can make is that Bleecker Street is running theatrically with audio description, because if not, that would be absolutely insane for them to make an audio description track and not send it to theaters. So I'm just assuming that that is running in theaters with the audio description track that supposedly is coming to VOD in a short time. So yeah, I'll probably rewatch this and re-review it. But since it's in theaters and you have the opportunity to go see it now, the question is, should you? um as long as you know what it is going in. I think that's the important thing. Is The Friend has a very light marketing campaign to it, and if you go into it thinking that it's a very light movie, I think that's just sort of almost like entrapment. It's not that it's dark and depressing either, but there is an element there that they're dancing around, that they're trying to hide from you. They don't really need to hide from you. I realize like a suicide movie is hard to sell, but it is just a catalyst. You know, the whole movie, it's not, everybody in the cast isn't killing themselves, so it's not like that kind, but it is a driving force. And to try to, I know you want to use Bill Murray's name to market the movie. Um, it's very misleading because his amount of screen time in here is equal to that of the other people that I named. He has about as much screen time here as Carla Gugino does, but they're not marketing Carla Gugino, you know, as a co-lead. So I don't know. I would say The Friend. It didn't quite pop for me, one of the reasons why I was really looking forward to The Friend is Bleecker Street actually surprised me, and in ways where it's like, hey, of all the film critics out there in the world, Bleecker Street should be pushing to me, because my best actor last year was Bobby Cannavale from Ezra, which was Bleecker Street, and my best actress last year was from Hard Truths, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, which was Bleecker Street. So uh, I, for whatever reason, catered to Bleecker Street twice on two of my top categories. I really loved Ezra. So, and I know that most critics were, it's like, well, that's fine, but I love it. So I could have done that for The Friend, except I don't think that this is, like with Bobby, I could feel Bobby like bleeding in every frame of Ezra. I think Naomi Watts is doing a nice job here, but I've definitely seen her have stronger performances in her career where I think she's giving more. It's a quieter, more nuanced performance because she has to explore grief, but it's a different kind of grief because it's not the grief that a wife would feel. It's the grief that a friend feels. And she's exploring it through also this relationship with his dog and just the concept of having a dog in an apartment where she can't have it, which becomes a huge part of the story. So there are other things that she's having to deal with. So it's not this tearjerker performance from her where she's just sitting around crying the whole time either. So it's a very measured performance from Naomi Watts. Not a bad one. It's just not a showy, she doesn't get up and just start throwing things around the room and being like, damn it, why don't you talk to me anymore? It's like, and she's just, she's very just, in her thoughts about, what does this all mean for her? And she's tasked with finishing the editing on his book as well. And so, yeah, it's just her exploring how to say goodbye while also having a horse living with her. So, I think The Friend is probably pretty good. I think I'm not grading it because I can't, but I have a feeling after I see this with audio description, I'm going to be giving it probably like somewhere in the B range, probably B or B plus. I don't think that this is going to end up being one of my favorite films of the year unless somehow the audio description is able to capture the wonderful performance that this dog is giving, which I've heard is an amazing performance. I just think it's really hard to capture and translate a dog's acting performance. But I've heard from a couple of people, including Bill Murray, who was like, man, the dog is just, there's sometimes you're just looking at that dog and you can tell he's actually acting, It's like, cool. All right. So, The Friend, yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's a good movie, not a bad movie. But do I think it's a great movie? I don't know about that. But I think it's a good movie. And oftentimes that's all we're looking for is a good movie. Not every single movie is going to be the most epic thing in your life that you're going to rewatch 10,000 times. Sometimes you're just looking for something that you haven't seen before that you're going to like, and you'll watch. And you're like, well, that was different, and that was new, and that was fresh, and I like that. And I think The Friend is that. I just don't know. I can't imagine too many people rewatching this movie over and over and over. It's not the happiest movie in the world. I don't know that it's a feel-good movie. So I would say also for people who are like, well, but what about the dog? I don't actually know what happens to the dog at the end of this movie. That's not a spoiler. I mean, it's just the lack of audio description leaves it ambiguous. It's just like I could not, if the time passage or whatever allows for something that would have happened to the dog, I don't know. It's hard to tell. So, if you're looking for that warning of does the dog die, I don't know. There's an actual website for that. Because I don't know. I didn't look it up. I already halfway through while watching this, I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie again anyway with audio description. So I don't need to look into every single facet of the movie and have things explained to me because I want to see if the audio description would explain it for me. So welcome to my first review of Friend, and then come back in a little while when this movie hits a VOD, and I'll re-review it for you. So that's it. Yeah, I'm recommending The Friend. That's the end of this. Is that it's a yes. I don't. It's not low enough in. I don't feel low enough where I would possibly be giving this like a rotten or a not recommend. I don't know. The audio description is not going to bring out, unless every single scene that wasn't audio described just features clowns for no reason whatsoever, just running around and dancing in the most random fashion. I don't know what it could possibly do, what the audio description could possibly point out that would cause me to go, oh no, 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 oh no. Because this movie isn't even that close to being on the line to me. So it's just not an Oscar movie. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.